If you assume and you believe that you live on the flat earth or the globe theory, you're not going to understand what I'm going to show you in this message. If you assume light has speed, you're not going to understand or fully comprehend what I can show you in here. If you assume voting matters, the list goes on. People repeat fallacies. You're going to fuck yourself up and others by extension. In other words, you need to sit with the information, you need to work with the information, you need to think for yourself. But most people, as our masters are training people to do, will run out and leave something on the internet and or talk at somebody about what they heard and associate it with the numerous paradigms, the adult fairy tales, the rabbit holes that go nowhere, mean nothing, and are fuck all. And by doing so, you will corrupt what I show you in this message. Because I guarantee everybody who sees this does not have a goddamn clue. Because you and I aren't supposed to. Also appreciate, I'm coming from the same standpoint, however, I pulled my head out of my ass and I have to remind myself to do this daily. In other words, I've put in time and sorted things out, which is why I'm capable of showing you things. Why in some ways I have eyes to see when others are, you could think, functionally fucking blind. It's one way to look at it. Either way. Here we go. I've been teaching people answers to reality you don't find elsewhere for 10 years. And for the most part, this probably won't go over well because I'm not acting the same way as all the duds online. I'm not going to show you some sensational shit. I'm not going to lie to you or blow rainbows up your ass and tell you that you're a smart, well-meaning, capable individual. Because that's not what we see on the internet. It's not what we fucking find. If you go out the door and you bump into people, people don't have the first clue what's going on. So, what I'm getting at here is I'm a walking disclaimer statement because people do not have the first fucking clue what reflects reality. And it gets old having to spoon feed people stepping stones so they understand what our masters are shopping around. Because 10 to 1, you could see shit like this in the programming and you wouldn't have the first fucking clue what you were looking at. What I'm saying is you would not have eyes to see because you and I are surrounded by below average people who are superficial by definition. And superficial people repeat superficial things. Superficial people recognize superficial things. Superficial people don't really get past that. In other words, they're the bottom of the totem pole in terms of chakras by design. I'm going to show you something on the box in a moment, and it's lesser magic. It's not predictive programming. It's not any of that other jargon that was spoon-fed to these superficial people, and they repeat it. Lesser magic, for those of you who don't know, the slow thinkers, the misinformed, and the curious. As I often do, I got ahead of my fucking self, and I should have been thinking. Granted, I'm just trying to spit out too much at once. I said lesser magic for the slow thinkers, the misinformed, and the curious. What that is it's the closest thing you're going to come to in terms of quote-unquote disclosure. However, that word was corrupted by the Disclosure Project, which is funded and moderated by the Rockefeller Trust and originally Hillary Clinton. You would hear about that all the time. What was it? The YouTubes, the Instagram, the TikTok, all that crap associated with technically the Disclosure Project and what has since been rebranded and turned into the Gaia Project. Those accounts would have 0 followers if you and I were surrounded by well-meaning people. The shortcut to thinking is it's funded by the Rockefeller Trust. Not unlike the Anonymous campaign, Black Lives Matter, and the fucking list goes on because they're social engineering campaigns. A great example these days is the alphabet community. Look into it. Look into it. Don't buy into it. Have I insulted the masses enough in this video? I realize I'm almost on 2 minutes so far because masters are doing away with attention spans and most people will tune out instead of tuning in. There's a method to my madness. Yeah. There. Let me just show you this because I've already done this one too many times and it should come up, but it doesn't come up. Yeah. You've probably heard of 2 people doing this, right? Have you ever heard of the big G and the little g? I want you to think about each of these. I want you to reason this out on your own, the big G and the little g. And what I'm referring to has to do with, we'll put it over here, arbitrarily speaking. Talking about the demiurge. And we're talking about Sophia. We're talking about Jupiter, Baal el Allah, Father fucking Sky. And we're talking about Satanel, Saturnel, motherfucking Earth. You and I are made from this. And you're not supposed to understand that. We're infused with this. Think of the crude matter over here. Think about the light within over here. Think about what you experience if you look up and you look down when you go out the fucking door. It's a big fucking deal. This represents this. This represents that. But you're not going to be able to Google this shit. Because what I can teach you isn't shit you're supposed to fucking know. Now, again, I want you to think about both of these sigils having to do with the natural numbers, the set, etc., etc. And I want you to reason out, which one of these do you think would be the big G, and which one of these do you think would be the little g? In terms of free Masonic horse shit, or however you want to look at it. Now, our masters understand these things. This is also why you'll see this sigil all the fucking time. Here in Portland, Oregon, we got the Portland Trailblazers. It's one of many things that has been sigil branded with a 69. 69 represents electricity, crudely speaking. 96, crudely speaking, represents electricity, magnetism. And with their powers combined, they create the seal of Melchizedek, which you've seen numerous times over. But most people don't understand what they're looking at because they don't have eyes to see. The seal of Melchizedek is a stop sign. It's the Chase Manhattan sigil, the bank. You ever seen that octagon? It's the Dead Kennedy punk band sigil. It's the Crass sigil. It's the Union Jack. Best of all, our masters understand this thing has power, which is why people were spoon-fed something that has been rebranded numerous times. It's how our masters work. You've heard of tic-tac-toe? You probably heard of pound. And these days, all the duds out there use hashtags. It's the same thing. With their powers combined, motherfuckers. Now, what I want you to appreciate, if you add the numbers up to 66, 1 through fucking 66, you're going to see this, which probably doesn't mean anything to people. Part of what you're looking at is the moon. Part of what you're looking at is Mercury. Remember, in old esoterica, these two are flipped, because this is near the dead center of where we are, and this is the closest to our rock in elevation. Now, if you keep adding these up, you're going to see a number right here. And this is what is hidden in what I like to call Girl Detective. Programming on the box as of 2023, which most people think is 2024, even though March has not, it hasn't cropped up yet. March is when the new year begins, March 21st. So here on Girl Detective, we got that baby eater Jodie Foster. And I want you to pay attention to the timestamp and what takes place.
This is fucking stupid.
You see what I see? This is season 4, episode 6, by the way. It's relevant, but I'm not going to spoon feed you the answers. I'm looking for people who can think for themselves. Bingo. But as always, what the fuck do I know? People can't reason things out anymore. They lack abstract thought. They don't have an imagination cap to adjust. The only way they quote-unquote know something is if it's spoon-fed to them. Or Google thinks for them. That doesn't reflect people who can think for themselves in any form or way. Which means we are not living in the age of enlightenment and information where people are quote-unquote social engineering buzzword woke. You and I are surrounded by the bottom of the barrel, the fucking bargain bin. And it's up to you to change that. Challenge yourself, then challenge others. That's how this shit works. But first you got to get a foundation under your feet, which means you have to start thinking for yourself. That's the bottom line to this message. And as always, what the fuck do I know? That's lesser magic on the box. Fucking Girl Detective.